Welcome to the edge of the world you once thought you'd never reach. The moment you were told it couldn't be done, the minute they laughed in your face, the second they labeled your dream impossible. And now here you are, standing at the top of a shattered wall, built by doubt rising from the dust of disbelief, breathing in the silence that follows the roar of the impossible crumbling beneath your will. And you have done it. You who were overlooked, underestimated, dismissed, have now risen and left every mouth wide open, every mind stunned, and every eye fixed on what they never thought they'd see. Your victory, your breakthrough, your defiance made real. There is a darkness in becoming someone that others thought you could never be, a silence not born of peace, but of stunned awe and terror, because when you rise after being counted out, you don't just inspire, you terrify. You disturb the balance. You threaten the comfort of the mediocre. You make people question their limits, their beliefs, their excuses. And it all starts when you look at what's impossible and smile, not with arrogance, but with quiet rage, with relentless certainty, knowing that if no one else believes it's possible, then it's your job to show them. This isn't just a story of triumph. This is a funeral for fear. This is where hesitation dies. This is the eulogy of doubt, and you are the voice delivering it with every breath you take. On this side of the impossible, when the whole world whispered no, and you whispered louder yes, and moved forward even when the ground shook, even when your legs gave out, even when the path vanished beneath you, and all that was left was your refusal to fall. That's what made the impossible not just possible, but inevitable. You see, the impossible has always been a lie, a word created by those too scared to try, too comfortable to fail, too proud to start again. And you dared to be the one who kept going, the one who kept building, even when no one clapped, the one who trained in silence, bled in secret, failed, without sympathy, and rose without applause. And now they look at you with wide eyes, not knowing what to say because they weren't watching, they weren't listening. They had written you off before the story even began. And now you stand at the cliff where others turned back, and you jumped, not to fall, but to fly. And the wind you feel now isn't luck, it's legacy. It's the storm you summoned with every ounce of pain turned into purpose. Every rejection turned into resolve. Every breakdown turned into a blueprint for greatness. And they can't explain it because they didn't feel what you felt. They didn't break like you did. They didn't lose like you did and still rise like you did. And now that you're here, they don't know whether to clap or run, whether to praise you or fear you, because you've done something terrifying. You've exposed the myth that we are bound by limits. Let them stare. Let them sit in silence. Let them wonder how you did it, because the truth is they were never supposed to understand it. This wasn't for them. It was for you. It was for the nights you stared at the ceiling, wondering if this fight was worth it, for the mornings you got up with no guarantee for the hours you spent, invisible, unrecognized, unappreciated. This was for the day you finally stopped asking for permission to be great and chose to become the storm they couldn't predict. This darkness you walked through wasn't just a phase. It was your crucible, your proving ground, your transformation chamber, and every step you took, in pain, carved out a version of you so powerful that even the past version of you wouldn't recognize it anymore. And now that you've become this unstoppable force, people are left trying to reconcile the myth they built about you with the truth standing in front of them, breathing, conquering, glowing, not in glory, but in raw, unfiltered presence. You see people talk about miracles, but forget what it costs to become one. They speak about destiny as if it's handed to you, but ignore the nights destiny tried to bury you in silence and failure. and you kept clawing your way back, not because you were sure, but because you refused to die in fear. You didn't need guarantees. You didn't ask for perfect conditions. You moved through storms like they were whispers, and now they call you miracle, when really you are just the result of 1,000 days of war that no one else was willing to fight. And when you make the impossible happen, there is a weight that comes with it, not the weight of pride, but the weight of memory. The memory of every time you almost quit, the memory of every face that doubted you, every voice that called you foolish, every moment you stood alone with nothing but a vision too big to be reasonable. And now that vision has flesh and breath and impact, and everyone who scoffed is suddenly speechless, not because they were wrong, but because you proved something deeper, that greatness isn't found, it's forged. This silence that follows your triumph isn't just admiration, it's fear. People fear what they can't categorize. They fear the ones who break the mold, the ones who don't wait for instructions or validation. And now that you've shattered expectations, they don't know what to do with you because you've become something different, something otherworldly, not by luck, but by sheer will, by choosing pain over comfort, by choosing purpose over applause, and by choosing to live in a way that leaves no room for excuses. They'll try to label you, now call you lucky, call you gifted, pretend they always believed in you. But the truth is, they never saw this coming. They never saw this storm building. They never saw the depth of your obsession, the fire in your silence, the conviction in your eyes when you trained in shadows and spoke to no one because you didn't need their praise, only your own belief, only your own discipline, only your own voice telling you to keep going, even when everything else begged you to stop. And now you've made the impossible real, not because it was easy, but because you made it necessary. You made it non-negotiable. You made it the only option. And when you operate like that, the world bends. The world shifts. The world is forced to make room for you because you're no longer asking for a seat at the table. You are bringing your own fire, and they are watching helplessly as you turn their doubt into fuel and their silence into symphonies of your arrival. Let them talk now. Let them write stories about you. Try to capture the moment. Try to understand what cannot be explained, because what you've done isn't just rare. It's sacred. It's dangerous. It's a signal to every soul out there that has been told to stay small, that the impossible is nothing but a test. And if they rise, if they refuse to break, if they keep showing up, they too can stand where you're standing right now. Not just victorious, but legendary. Because this isn't about one win. This is about rewriting the rules, about shifting the paradigm, about showing the next generation that dreams aren't something you wait for. They're something you fight for, and you have bled and broken and rebuilt until your very existence became a monument to resilience and a warning to every system that tried to silence you, that they failed to break you, they failed to stop you. And now you are the proof that nothing is truly impossible when the will is pure. So stand tall, not just because you've won, but because of what you've survived, because of what you've endured, because you turned every no into a reason, every betrayal into a building block, every failure into focus. And now you stand surrounded not by cheerleaders, but by stunned silence. And that is more powerful than any applause, because it means you didn't just rise. You shifted something deep in the core of everyone watching. You made the impossible happen, and now the world has no choice but to watch adjust and wonder how many others are out there like you, waiting in the dark, training in silence, building in pain, who will one day break the sky open and walk through it without warning, just like you did. And when that day comes, they'll remember this moment not just as a triumph, but as the beginning of a new truth that limits Our lies and legends are born in silence. So let them whisper, let them doubt, let them try to understand. But don't slow down, don't shrink. Now, don't wait for them to catch up, because your story is still being written, and every step you take beyond the impossible becomes a map for others who will follow, not because you told them it could be done, but because you proved it, because you lived it, because you made the impossible happen and didn't ask for permission to do so. The world is still reeling, still recalibrating, still trying to make sense of your defiance. But you already knew this day would come, not because of arrogance, but because of preparation, because of obsession, because you buried yourself in the process long before the results appeared. And now that the world is finally seeing what you always believed in, you don't need validation, you don't need applause, you just need one thing: to keep going. Because if this is what they call impossible, then imagine what's next. And as the dust begins to settle, as the echoes of shock drift into silence, and the crowd stares motionless at what you've done, you do not stop. You do not soften. You do not descend from the summit. You've just claimed, because deep down, you know this was never the final destination. It was merely the confirmation that you were always capable, that you were always chosen not by fate, but by fire, by the relentless inner hunger to build something no one else could even imagine. They say the journey ends at the top, but you've learned the truth. The top is only a mirror, and when you get there, all you see is who you became in the process. Not the medals, not the applause, not the eyes staring in disbelief, but the eyes staring back at you in the mirror, the eyes of someone who never gave in, even when the night was long and the light never came, even when hope seemed like a joke and success a myth. Those eyes, those relentless eyes, are what you fought for. The impossible was never a mountain. It was a mirror. It was your own shadow, doubting your worth. It was your own reflection, asking if you were enough. And now that you've stood face to face with that shadow and refused to back down, the world is forced to watch as the illusion burns and the truth rises from the ashes. The truth that you were never here to blend in. You were never here to be liked. You were never here to follow the rules. You were here to break them, reshape them, redefine what's possible, and make them wish they had believed sooner. And still, they won't understand. They'll ask for your secret. They'll search for your shortcut, but you'll know there was none. There was only pain and persistence, only darkness and discipline, only failure and forward motion. And in the silence that follows your success, you'll hear the faint echoes of the voice that never left you, the one that said, keep going, keep building, keep bleeding for what you believe in. And now that voice is no longer a whisper, it's a roar, and it's coming from you. You've become the very storm that once tried to break you. You've become the force that others now fear and follow. And you did it without needing a stage, without needing permission, without needing validation. And now your silence screams louder than their words ever could, because what you've done speaks for itself. It writes its own history. It breathes its own power. And those who once doubted are left scrambling, trying to reconcile the version of you they imagined with the one now standing right in front of them. Untouchable, unshaken, unstoppable. And this silence, this speechlessness that follows your ascension, it isn't accidental. It's the sound of reality shifting. It's the moment when what they believed was impossible becomes undeniable. It's the exact second when every excuse dies and every lie about limits fades. Because now they've seen it. Now they've seen you, and they can't unsee it. You've broken something deep inside the ordinary, the illusion that some dreams are too big, the myth that some goals are reserved for the lucky or the chosen or the perfect. And in their place, you've left a brutal, beautiful truth carved into the fabric of the moment, that anyone willing to suffer for their dream, to fight for it, to outlast the storm, can rise and rewrite the impossible. They thought they knew who you were. They put you in a box labeled. You laughed at your plans, pretended to be kind while rooting for your failure. And now every one of them sits in stunned reverence, not because they suddenly love you, but because they are seeing for the first time what they never dared believe. That greatness does not ask for permission. It does not seek applause. It simply arrives, crashes through the ceiling, and demands to be remembered. You were once invisible, now you are inevitable. You were once doubted, now you are defined by proof. You were once mocked, now you are mimicked, and they don't even know how to begin to follow in your steps, because you didn't follow any to get here. You built your own path, brick by brick, wound by wound, tear by unspoken tear, and every scar is now a trophy. Every sleepless night, a verse in the song that now echoes across every room you walk into, a song without words, but full of truth, that you made the impossible happen and did it alone, bleeding, in the dark, with no one else watching. This is more than motivation. This is a movement. This is not just your win. This is their wake-up call. This is not just your moment. This is the moment they realize the rules have changed. And now you have a choice. You can stop here. You can rest in the silence. Or you can become even more dangerous. You can use this victory not as a conclusion, but as ignition. You can build higher, go deeper, stretch further, because now that you've crossed into the realm of the impossible, you know the truth. There are no limits. There never were. And the only thing standing between anyone and their impossible is the willingness to keep moving when it hurts to be misunderstood, when the path disappears, when no one believes. And that willingness, that fire, that force, it lives in you. The world watched you fall and said, "It's over." The world watched you try again and said, "It's foolish." The world watched you win, and now it says nothing at all, because there are no words to describe what happens when a soul refuses to break. So remember this moment, not for the applause, but for the silence. Not for the victory, but for the valley it took to get here. Not for the spotlight, but for the shadows you walked through to earn it. Because when others quit, you kept going. When others compromised, you got sharper. When others waited for the right time, you became time. And now, the impossible is yours. And the world is watching, wide-eyed, speechless, and wondering, what will you do next? Would you like the final section with a climactic outro to wrap this up, like a motivational film or speech ending? I can continue and close it in a cinematic, powerful way. Then let's finish this, not with a whisper, but with a storm. You stand here now not just as a survivor of your own past, not just as a builder of your own future, but as a living monument to what happens when will meets refusal, when conviction meets chaos, when the impossible meets someone too relentless to quit. And this moment is not the summit. This is the ignition, the point at which the fire you lit becomes wildfire, the point at which your story stops being yours alone and starts becoming a torch passed silently to the next one in line, the one watching, broken, tired, unsure, and looking at you with eyes wide open, whispering, if they can, maybe I can too. Because that's what real impact looks like. Not a headline, not a celebration, but a spark in someone else's soul. And now you must decide, will you settle into this victory, plant your flag and sleep in the comfort of having proved them wrong? Or will you do what no one expects? Will you keep going? Will you use this silence not as a lull, but as a war drum? Because here's the raw truth no one wants to say out loud. The impossible you just conquered was only the first layer. There are deeper layers of resistance, thicker walls of doubt, stronger storms coming. And that is not a warning. It's a gift. Because you've proven that you are not afraid of pain. You've proven that you are not shaken by silence. You've proven that even when no one believes, you will. You will be the one who doesn't stop when it's enough. You stop when it's legendary. Because now, your silence has weight. Your presence has gravity. Your journey has momentum. And with every breath, you're rewriting what it means to be unstoppable. You are not a moment. You are not a headline. You are not hype. You are evidence. And the world is shifting under your feet. They won't say it out loud, but they're already different. You've broken the cycle. You've rattled the cage. You've redefined the ceiling. You've walked through every doubt, and now you walk above it. You've shattered expectations so thoroughly that they now look at the word impossible differently. And that is the power no one can take from you. They can strip the spotlight. They can mute the applause. They can rewrite history books. But they can't erase the silence you left behind. They can't erase the shift they felt the moment you made the impossible real. They can't unfeel the tremor of your presence. You are the before and after in someone's life story now. You are the reason someone decided not to give up. You are the whisper in the dark saying, keep going, to a stranger you'll never meet. And now that you've done the impossible, you carry a responsibility greater than ambition. You carry the blueprint for the next impossible, and with it comes a truth that burns deep and permanent. The world only sees the impossible until someone does it, and now they've seen you. They've seen you rise. They've seen you break through. They've seen you defy what was written in stone, and now they'll never forget it. You are the sound that silence makes when it becomes unstoppable. You are the shape of fire when it chooses to stand still and speak without words. You are what it looks like when a soul refuses to be caged by limits. You are the one they said would never make it, and the one they now cannot stop watching. And here's what they don't know. This was never your final form. You are still rising, still sharpening, still becoming. The impossible is no longer your enemy. It is your fuel. Let it fuel you into something they've never even imagined. Let it fuel your next evolution. Let it drive your next unthinkable leap. Because from this point forward, the world no longer asks if you can. It waits to see what you will do next. So go, burn louder, fly higher, hit harder, create deeper. Build the thing they say can't be built. Walk through the wall they swear can't be breached. Be the ghost in their excuses, the shadow in their doubt, the reminder that the impossible isn't a wall, it's a door. And you've already kicked it wide open. Now run through it and don't look back. Not for applause, not for validation, not even for gratitude, because this was never about recognition. It was about becoming. And you have become something rare, something real, something that doesn't ask, doesn't beg, doesn't wait. You just made the impossible happen, and you did it like you knew it was never really impossible to begin with. Now go, break the next one.